What are tariffs? All right, think about it like this. Let's say we got a guy named Kojo, and he wants to buy a television from Best Buy, and that television costs $500. All right. A tariff is essentially a tax imposed by a government, and they do that to raise revenue or to control trade policy. So right now, our government is taking the stance that we've been taking advantage of for a long time, and so we're going to enforce these tariffs. So the question is, well, who pays those tariffs? Well, if Best Buy is selling television to Kojo for $500, now that same television, if they're going to be buying it from a manufacturer in China or Vietnam, then that television is now going to cost Best Buy, maybe instead of it costing them $350 for Best Buy to buy it, now it's going to cost them $400. All right. So now Best Buy has a decision: do they absorb that $50 cost, or do they pass that cost on to Kojo and raise that price from $500 to $550, or does Best Buy just say, you know what, we're gonna buy less televisions from these foreign manufacturers? So that's what's happening with these tariffs, and what that's done is it's pushed the stock market down significantly. On this past Friday, we saw the Dow Jones Industrial Average 30 stocks that you probably have heard of before, like Microsoft and Apple. They've all fallen. The Dow fell about 2,000 points in total. Okay, so now we're right around the 38,000 level. And if you look back in history, about 1 year ago, April 2024, the Dow Jones was at this same level, 38,000. Okay, but what I want to focus on here are exchange traded funds, which are essentially just a basket of stocks. So instead of buying just one share of Apple or just one share of Eli Lilly, you can invest in a sector and spread out your investments over multiple different stocks that are all in that same sector. Okay, so what I want to do is look at, well, what happened to the top performing ETFs in 2024, and what's happened to them since the market has gone down 3 months in. Okay, so what we have here is, in relation to these tariffs that have been happening, which are a tax which has increased the television price at Best Buy for Kojo. Okay, we have a technology has fallen the most, going down by approximately 23%, as represented by the Vanguard technology ETF with the ticker symbol VGF. Okay, stocks inside of that ETF include Apple. Okay, the second worst performer of the basket that I've looked at was the XLI, which the Spiders. XLI is the consumer ETF, which means that it has companies like General Electric, Aerospace inside of it. That one is going down by 18%. So we have technologies falling 23%, consumer discretionary is going down by negative 18%, and then we have crypto. Crypto is taking most people maybe by surprise, but it's definitely grabbing a lot of headlines. But there's an ETF called the Grayscale Bitcoin ETF, GBTC. That one is falling down by 11%. Okay, so that's what's happening with a couple of the top performing ETFs of 2024. What about the trailing ETFs of 2024? So I always want to look at, what's happening at the top of the market and what's happening at the bottom. So those ETFs that were trailing at the end of last year, they also fell, but they fell by a smaller amount. And one surprise here, maybe not a surprise, is that gold, the gold ETF, as represented by the VanEck Gold ETF, ticker symbol GDX, is up 23%. So gold is often been thought about as a safety, a hedge against volatility in your portfolio. So the one bright spot in the trailing ETFs of 2024 is that the GDX, the VanEck Gold Exchange Traded Fund, has been up 20%. And then ETFs that have fallen, but fallen to a lesser extent, have been the XLP. That's a Standard & Poor's ETF. That one is focusing in on consumer staples, things that people are going to buy no matter what. One of the companies in that XLP Staples ETF is called Pepsi. And another ETF that has fallen, but not fallen quite as much, as what we've seen here with technology, consumer discretionary, and Bitcoin is the XLV, which is healthcare. And that's going to be comprised of companies like Eli Lilly. That one is going down by negative 1.66%. So what should you be doing as an investor right now? Well, I like to listen to this one particular investor. His name is called Howard Marks. He is the owner and founder of something called Oak Tree Capital Management. And he often talks about one of the most important things to consider before purchasing an asset that's going to appreciate in value over time is the price, right? What price are you paying for that asset, okay? And what we have now are many stocks. Hopefully there's a stock or two or three that you have on your wish list that have gone down in price. Now, not everything is going down. Companies like Home Depot and Costco, they're doing very well. But even companies like Best Buy, that we're talking about here for Kojo's Television, have fallen almost 30% since the beginning of the year. So if you've been thinking about buying, now is definitely a time to consider buying. Now, you always want to do your own research, but keep in mind what Howard Marks said. One of the most important things to consider before purchasing an asset is the price. And right now, prices are looking pretty good, right? So challenge yourself, use these tools, and I know you'll be successful on your investment journey. See you next time.